Alright, I haven't done this yet, I don't know why, which is what characters, SRs and Rs, you should be maxing first on global. I don't know why it took me so long to make this, I should have made this like 3 weeks ago. But yeah, a lot of SRs and Rs are just very valuable, like a lot of them, they're very good because they have like good passives, they have like good cards that, you know, usually you would see in SSR, but they just have it as an SR. And a lot of them are going to be very useful in Training Cave, which is an activity that should come out in like a week or so for global. It did come out on GP with the release of Chapter 8, I was told, so I wouldn't really like, you know, take it as a solid like 100%, you know, when Chapter 8 comes on global, the Training Cave is going to come out as well, but you know, it's good to assume. So I'm assuming Training Cave is going to come out very soon. For Training Cave, if you ever played Dokkan and you know what Dokkan Battlefield is, you need like a bunch of characters to beat like a bunch of fights, right? So leveling up a bunch of characters is very useful, and because of the lack of SSR pendants, you know, it's more of a lack, it's less of a lack and more of a, you know, they push you the amount that they want, and they don't want you to progress too fast through the game, right? But with how much easier it is to get the other pendants in comparison, you want to, you know, level up those Rs and SRs so you can beat those Training Cave stages more easily. So, who are the units that you should be leveling up? I will be ranking them right here. Not a tier list. The units at the top don't necessarily mean they're better than the units at the bottom. It's just that these units are just better to max out right now, and then you max them out like in the future, the other ones, you know? So I'll do the order that is here. Elione, I think I should work on after the must, because he does have very solid cards and his passive is really good. Actually, because of his passive, I'm gonna go for good for the boost. This tier doesn't mean it's better than this tier. Just read it by the text, you know? Read it more by the text and like the ranking of the tier. But if you don't know what Elione does, he ranks up. He boosts the green types by 10% attack with his stats. So he's a very good 4th unit if you're using just a mono green or something, and you know not a member is gonna die or something. So you know, just keep him in there. So he's really good for the boost. Ban is a pretty good unit for story mode. Takes off ult gauge. If you already have like Hellbrim and Green Merlin, his take off ult gauge card is not nearly as good, but I think he's a good card to work on. King, he does pretty much the same thing as Leone, but for every single unit, you know, but he has to be in a raid, so that's, you know, specifically for raid 4th slot. Elizabeth is a must. She's so good. Her passive, I know, at this point, I talked about her so much, you guys should not be overlooking her, okay? Because her passive is that she heals all allies by 10%, and this works as a 4th unit. So you can use her in the back and just heal 10% every turn, as long as they're damaged, but most of the time, you know, your units will all be damaged anyway, so even if they're damaged by like 1, they're gonna just heal 10% of their max HP, so it's really, really good. Green Elihawk, she's really good. But at this point in the game, if I had made this list 3 weeks ago, I would say she's like a work on after the must. But at this point in the game, I don't know. I don't really think it's that, because there's so many other like AoE units at this point. Green Guild Thunder, 100%. He's such a stupid broken unit. Like Guild Thunder is better than most SSRs in the game, like not even exaggerating, just because of how useful he is, right? You're going to be using him in every raid because of his attack boost card. You know, other units also have attack boost cards, but honestly, he has like one of the best, you know? And his passive on PvP, he does increase the defense related stats of all allies by 30%. If you don't know, if you want an idea, 30% plus resistance is just so stupid. It's almost like damage reduction. So 30% plus resistance defense and then crit resistance, crit defense. It's just so good. He's such a good character, especially for an SR, right? So he's a must to level up. Gustav as well, more because the freeze, right? And because if you don't have Red Merlin especially, he's gonna be super good for Guild Boss. Guild Boss is an activity you should be doing every week. It gives you anvils, it gives you SSR pendants. Actually, I don't know if Global already has SSR pendants, I'm assuming it does, but on JP, if you do 2.2k points, you get 2 SSR pendants, 100 envelopes, and stuff like that. Eventually, when the extreme comes to Global, then you get like the full rewards. I'm assuming you get 1 SSR pendant and 50 envelopes right now, but yeah, he has the freeze, which increases damage, but not only that, his passive is super useful. It decreases the enemy's resistance, like I said, for Guild Thunder, right? Resistance acts a little bit like damage reduction, so by you're pretty much reducing their damage reduction. So it's really good. It's a really good passive, and it's very useful, you know. This guy is a really good passive for raids. I forgot his name, but if I go in the R's, I can find him. Golgius. He increases damage dealt by 15% in deathmatch, so he's pretty good for the raids. Marmas, he's good for the boost. Marmas gives blue units extra 30% HP. If I bring him up right here, he gives speed attribute allies HP 30%. HP 30% is quite a bit. 30% is a really good number. I completely forgot what he does. I'm pretty sure he's bad though. I'm almost sure that he's bad. Hugo. Oh yeah, he's really. Yeah, he's one of the worst SR. So yeah, nah, 100% no. This guy's very bad. Taizu. You know, it's a tough one because his passive works actually pretty well on PvP. Decreases all allies' damage taken by 20%, but I don't recommend leveling. Like again, he's a good unit, but I don't recommend really leveling him up. It's just the CC is so low. You're gonna lose CC fights. It's just not good. Good for the boost. My man, I can't forget his name right now. My man Twigo, he gives HP for strength by 30%, but also his cards are pretty decent as well. So he's actually a very decent unit as well. So he's really good for the boost. This guy, he just like Taizu, he actually instead gives 15% extra damage on PvP, which actually I do wanna. I'll put him here. But he's like the worst in here. I don't think he's a nah, but he's the worst in here because the 15%, especially right now in global, should be actually not that bad. Right now in JP you can use it because you need to like the most CC possible, right? But the extra 15% damage should not be so bad right now in global, so I think it's not that bad. This guy's are really good for a 4th slot on raids. His passive is that he decreases damage by all allies taken by it's 20%. Yeah, on deathmatch. So Grey Demon in Crimson, I do recommend using him in the back. If you want, if you're confident you want to use just attack, you can. But if you want to use him, but the 20% on JP, we use him on Grey Demon Hell because he does like a lot of damage to you. So we like use super tanky stuff and make him like not do damage at all. It's actually pretty interesting. 100% this guy Slater is really good. It's more about his card. A lot of people are gonna overlook him because it's an SR, right? But this card is super stupid. He seals everything that is an attack card. It's really good. Training Cave, you need him. There is a stage in Training Cave that's literally made for him. So just keep that in mind. Arthur, I don't recommend. Freezer, don't recommend. Bluegill Thunder, don't recommend. This guy, I don't recommend. Don't recommend. Don't recommend. Good for the boost. Jericho is a boost just like a Leone. She boosts the blue types to 10%. Both her and the red one, if I find the red one, they both have the same passive, but they have for their specific typings, right? So the blue Jericho gives for blue and the red gives for red. Blue Meliodas, as much as I really like him, now I say I think he'll work on after the mods. He's pretty good. The thing is that it's just because counter melee is right there, right? And I'm assuming everyone that has anything like connected to YouTube, they watch YouTube videos. You should have rerolled for counter melee. So you just already have counter melee, which is almost the same unit as well. So it's really tough to really suggest him. But I think I'll keep it on work after the must, just because he's a pretty good and fun unit. He's really good for blue typing. He's really good. His counters are pretty good. I think I'll just keep him there. This girl, she's on global, right? I think so. She is actually pretty decent. I don't talk about her too much because I don't actually have. I do have her 80 actually on JP. I did 80 her pretty recently, but she seals ultimate. And this card applies Ignite Zero Move stances. It's actually pretty good for a specific. I'm only keeping her in there because she's really good for the same stage as Slater does. If you have both of them in the same like stage, you can't lose the fight, even if they're both 60. That's why I'm keeping her there. But that's it. Wineheart, he's really good. He's double AoE attack, so he's really good for farming. And his passive actually increases the pierce rate of all allies every turn, so it's really good. Good for the boost, just like the Taizu and the Marmons. Instead, she gives 30% to green typing, so she's actually good for that. Green Dreyfus, nah. Green Gopher, nah. This guy is actually really good. My boy Sora told me about him. I had never realized this guy before. Let me find him real quick. Oh, I think I passed him. Green Hendrickson is actually a healer. He does heals all allies by 150, 250. And I only really recommend him, and he also increases the pierce, or is the pierce of all allies as well. But I only really recommend him because the other Hendricksons are very bad. The blue Hendricksons are a really bad unit. So out of the Hendricksons, right, he's the best option. So it's actually not a bad option to just level him up and have him in there. No, you know. Red Elliehawk, 100%. Red Demon, she is like super good for Red Demon. Like Blue Slater is really good, but you know, it's just that thing, right? You don't want to be using SSR pennants on him when you should be using the SSR pennants like Blue King, Red Gopher, units like that where they're good on PvP, right? Because Red Demon, you can really, it's a really easy activity. You can just freeze him and just keep doing damage to him with Red Elliehawk. I do recommend leveling her up. Red DM, no. Dojito, I want to classify him as good for the boost because he does give defense, but that would be unfair. He increased the defense rate stats by just strength by 30. That would be unfair to the Green Gilfunder. I think it's Green Gilfunder. Blue Gilfunder, and I forgot who's the green one that does it. That also boosts 30% for those elements. But just because Dojito is a little bit better, I think I'm gonna put him on nah. He's just not that good. Red Hendrickson, nah. And then Red Griamore, I do say work on him after the musts. Because Red Griamore, he's actually a pretty solid unit. He does have shield. Just like, I think it's the same one as Red Merlin. He has the same shield as Red Merlin, and he does increase the HP related stats of our allies on PvP. And also his card 600%. So he actually would be a very okay option for the next raid that's coming out, which is the Howlex, or Crimson, we like to call him. So, you know, he's actually a pretty decent option for that. So if you don't have like Red DM and Leotas when he comes out. So that's my list for units you should be leveling up. Again, not a best to worst, more of a what units you should be investing the resources on. More specifically, you know, work on after the must. Doesn't really necessarily mean it's that much better than good for the boost. A lot of these units, you know, they are going to be only 4 field slots. Maybe not my man Twigo, because he's actually pretty, unironically really good, but they're mostly going to be 4th slots, while these guys will mostly be in the field. So that's why I put them above, but they are on the same realm, I would say. And then the 4th slot for raids is like, you could just, instead of using King, if your damage dealer is a green unit, just use Elioni and stuff like that. That's why I ranked them below. And then these guys are now on global. This guy should have come out, I think, with Dojito, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't. Even if he does come out, I put him on nah anyways. And this guy, we don't know if he's ever gonna come out on global. I hope he does. If he does, I think he's a must max, because this guy actually, I closed the website, but this guy, Rimuru, he does have the same passive as Red Elizabeth, but he heals 5%. So it's different. Heals HP of allies equals to 5% of diminished HP. Never mind. Wait a minute. I'll put him on nah. I thought it was like Elizabeth with 5%. Okay, it's not that good. Okay, I thought he was like Elizabeth. He's not nearly as good. Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much the list. That's it.